Hey guys, welcome back to Breakthrough Kitchen. So today I'm going to show you how I made these super delicious and rich chocolate brownies. Brownies are a classic dessert that has stood the test of time. Literally, these rich squares have a special place in the hearts of many, and for good reason. If you're a fan of rich chocolatey desserts, then you're probably a huge fan of brownies. The perfect brownie is a delicate balance of rich chocolate flavor, moist texture, and a slightly crisp crust. Now, my favorite thing about this recipe is that beautiful crackle that you get when you bake it. Oh my god. And in this one, I used 2 different types of chocolate chips, and I really feel like it added such an interesting twist to the brownie. So right now, I am melting my butter. This step is unusual for other brownie recipes that I've seen. So here I'm melting the butter all the way. This is going to make the texture of the brownie be super moist, super fudgy. It's gonna be delicious. So whether you prefer your brownies fudgy, cakey, or chewy, there's a recipe out there for everyone. In this video, I'm going to be sharing a recipe for the best brownies that are sure to satisfy your sweet tooth. It's really hard for me to pinpoint out of fudgy, cakey, and chewy where these brownies lie because honestly and truthfully, they just kind of hit every one of these a little bit. It's not super fudgy, it's not super cakey, it's not super chewy, but at the same time, it is fudgy, it is cakey, and it is chewy. So do with that what you must. I definitely recommend trying this recipe because it was the best brownies I ever tried. So after the butter completely melts, I add my white sugar. I turn off the heat and I add my white sugar, and now I'm just gonna pour that into a bowl because the rest of the steps in this recipe do not include any more heat besides the oven at the end, of course. So now I am going to be adding my eggs to my butter and sugar mixture. I'm going to be adding 2 eggs, and I'm going to mix it really well to make sure that the eggs, the yolk, and everything are nicely incorporated. Now, after I have this all incorporated, I'm going to go ahead with my dry ingredients, but in the meantime, let me tell you guys a little story about this brownie recipe. This brownie recipe honestly has so many stories associated with it, but pretty much the first time I ever made this recipe, hilarious. I only meant to do 1 batch, which is the batch that I'm doing for this recipe, like the yield amount, and I accidentally added too many eggs, I think, and at that point it was either the batch was garbage or the batch had to completely be doubled. So I ended up with so many brownies, it was crazy. But okay, so anyways, here I mixed my flour, my cocoa powder, my baking soda, my baking powder, and my salt. Another funny thing, I probably should have sifted this all when I mixed it together at this point, but for whatever reason, I didn't. And I end up having to sift it later when I add it to my wet ingredients. It was kind of annoying, and you could probably get away with not sifting it, but for some reason, my cocoa powder was super chunky. I think it was because it's I keep it in a container and it stays pretty compressed. So when I put it into my measuring cup, it was just very chunky. So here I am sifting it, and it was kind of annoying doing it this way. I highly recommend sifting it when you have all your ingredients laid out 1 at a time compared to like this, but nonetheless they came out, the result is the same. It's just convenience wise. So anyways, my second funny story when it comes to these brownies is that it was actually when I made this batch. So I made this batch, it came out with 9 brownies. They were super good. I think I ate like 2. And then I had put the plate in the microwave, and then like the next day I went to get a brownie. Oh my gosh, this was like after I went to work and everything, so I was super tired, but microwave is pretty high up, so I have to kind of not go on my tippy toes, but it is pretty on like a tall ledge. So I went to grab the plate out of the microwave, and I don't know, my butterfingers, they just made, I don't even know, but the plate pretty much shattered, with the brownies. It was a ceramic plate. Also very upset about the plate. It was a Williams Sonoma plate. It was kind of expensive. It was one of my favorite plates. It was like a bluish green. You guys might have seen it because I use it a lot for my recipe dishes. But yeah, so the plate shattered into the brownies, and it was like ceramic, so all like the ceramic bits went into the brownies, and it was like, yeah, I can't eat these brownies. I did like try to flake some of the ceramic pieces off, but I was like, yeah, no, this is garbage. This is just garbage. I was really upset because obviously I did all that work and I only got to eat like 2 brownies. It was kind of tragic, but anyways, don't be like me and be more careful with your brownies. So anyways, I threw the dry ingredients into the wet ingredient bowl, and now I am going to mix it until it is just barely incorporated. Now, this batter came out very thick. Looking back, it was very hard to work with at this point. If you run into the same problem, I would just recommend adding just a tablespoon of water. If you need more, I would add max like 2 tablespoons, but just go 1 tablespoon at a time just to make it easier to work with, because honestly, spreading it into the baking pan for me was a struggle, and I could have easily added just a tablespoon of water just to make it easier to manage, and it wouldn't have affected the recipe at all. So this is where I'm at. And soon I will be adding my chocolate chips. Now for my chocolate chips, I used semi-sweet mini chocolate chips, like the mini ones, and then I used these big chocolate chunks. I don't know if they were dark chocolate or semi-sweet as well, but either way, I really am happy with this decision of using the 2 different chocolate chip chunks thing, because let me tell you, the result at the end is crazy. I honestly think it's what makes this recipe so freaking good. So if for some reason you don't have chocolate chips, or you only have one type of chocolate chip, another different way that you can elevate the recipe a little bit is by adding Nutella on top of the batter before baking, or maybe even swirling it into the batter for a nice marbled effect. And the Nutella flavor with the chocolate, oh my gosh, that'd be super delicious. Another super good idea would be even some peanut butter. Oh my god, peanut butter with these brownies would have been so good. Even peanut butter chips, like Reese's Pieces. Oh my god, I'm getting so many ideas right now. But honestly, you can differentiate this recipe in so many different ways. So you just saw me spread a whole bunch of butter onto my baking pan because I do not want this to stick, and you can see how thick this is. So I was like, yeah, absolutely not. I need a big layer of butter because I'm not dealing with this later when it comes time to take it out of the oven. So here I am, struggling to put my batter into my pan. I wish I would have thought to put a little bit of water just to make it easier on myself, but I did manage to get it in there. Not gonna lie, when I did the first batch with when I doubled the recipe, it was a little bit easier to manage. I really hate how sometimes when you alter recipe a little bit like that, it becomes easier with it just comes out different when you have different proportions, even though technically they're the same, but it is what it is. So anyways, here I am just spreading it out, making sure it's nice and even. And you could also top the brownies with chocolate chips if you don't want to have it all incorporated, but I think I like it more incorporated than whatever, I feel like on top, you put them on top only when you want it to be very aesthetically pleasing. But I think the chunks throughout the brownie, also, they're necessary. They add a lot of character. So here I am cutting the brownie. It cuts very nicely into nice big pieces. I don't think I needed, oh yeah, I do remember that I needed to clean my knife in between cuts, because let me tell you, these brownies, I did let it cool for quite a while, but these brownies still needed a little bit of help in that sense. And then at this point here I am. So the butter definitely helped with keeping the brownie from sticking to the sides, but when it came to the bottom, I still had some of it stick, and it was kind of annoying. But yeah, it looks like I took a bite out of the brownie, and I didn't, because it just didn't cut very clean. But nonetheless, these brownies were delicious. I'll have the full recipe linked down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.